Hello and welcome to Follow the Money. I'm Raine Musñgi. Join us as we explore the tools and insights you need to jumpstart your financial journey. Bitcoin surges to record levels on news that Donald Trump is poised for another term in the White House. Cryptocurrency investors anticipating a pro-crypto environment pushed Bitcoin to $75,000, its highest value yet. The surge in the world's largest cryptocurrency reflecting a renewed investor confidence in an alternative to the dollar and global economic uncertainty. Shares in crypto-related stocks also rose, with Coinbase climbing 22% and MicroStrategy jumping 11%. Trump's crypto advocacy marks a shift from his earlier skepticism of digital assets. At a July conference, he proposed turning the U.S. into a crypto hub. Markets are now betting on favorable policies and potential tax cuts to drive Bitcoin to new heights. Some analysts suggesting it could hit $90,000 by December if trend holds, but Bitcoin's value remains volatile. More fallout from the crypto market as FTX files a major lawsuit against competitor Binance. FTX seeks $18 billion in damages, claiming that Binance and former CEO Changpeng Zhao, or CZ, engaged in market manipulation and interfered with their planned merger. FTX claims these actions caused it significant financial harm and led to its downfall. It further alleges Zhao and Binance dropped out of a rescue deal in bad faith, sparking a liquidity crisis that eventually drove FTX to bankruptcy. Binance is already facing a string of legal troubles amid pressure from regulators globally. Meanwhile, China is on track for a record-breaking $1 trillion in trade surplus this year as global trade flows continue to favor Asia's largest economy. Driven by strong export demand and increased trade with Asia and Europe, Bloomberg reports that China is expected to reach a historic $1 trillion surplus. China's trade growth has been consistent despite global slowdowns, helped by a shift in supply chains and robust industrial output. The surplus is set to reinforce China's position in the global market, even as other economies grapple with trade imbalances and inflation. In a high-stakes legal move, China's tech giant Huawei Technologies has requested a U.S. court to dismiss criminal charges, including alleged bank fraud and violating sanctions against Iran. Huawei filed a motion in Brooklyn federal court pushing back against U.S. allegations that it engaged in fraud to evade sanctions on Iran and misled global banks about its relationship with a subsidiary. This case, which has impacted U.S.-China tech relations since 2019, has become a symbol of the rising tensions between the two nations. Huawei argues the charges are politically motivated and denies all wrongdoing. With Huawei seeking to end a legal battle that has spanned over 5 years, both sides are preparing for what could be a landmark decision in U.S.-China trade. In a bold move, Japan plans to spend over $65 billion on its semiconductor and AI industries to strengthen domestic tech and reduce dependence on foreign suppliers. The Japanese government announced a strategic plan to locate $65 billion over the next 5 years to develop its semiconductor and AI sectors. This move comes amid heightened global demand for chips and competition in technologies such as artificial intelligence. As the world turns to next-generation technologies, Japan is positioning itself as a key player with a massive commitment to the domestic industry. Meanwhile, Japanese technology investor SoftBank is expected to book a massive $1.87 billion in quarterly profit from a slate of initial public offerings planned this year. This compares with a loss of $6 billion in the same period last year. Most analysts, or MST analyst David Gibson, estimates an investment gain with the IPOs of two Indian companies, Brainbee Solutions and Ola Electric, that are seen to generate an income of $0.9 billion and $1 billion, respectively. A drop of around 10% 8% in the value of the dollar versus the yen over the period is expected to boost SoftBank's bottom line. The anticipated returns come at a crucial time as SoftBank grapples with high debt and a recent strategy shift toward more conservative investments. Australia and ANZ Bank are close to finalizing a deal to halt closures of bank branches in the Pacific, ensuring critical financial services remain available for island nations. The Australian government and ANZ are in talks to stop branch closures in the Pacific, responding to local concerns that lack of access to banking would hurt economies and everyday life. Many in the region rely on physical bank services due to limited digital infrastructure. With this deal, Australia reaffirms its support for Pacific Island communities, strengthening ties and fostering economic stability in the region. Italy's former national carrier Alitalia has started procedures for the collective dismissal of its remaining 2,059 employees, its administrators told the unions. The move comes as the successor to bankrupt Alitalia, or ITA Airways, faces hurdles in its merger plans with German Lufthansa. According to Italian media reports, merger talks stalled after the Italian Economy Ministry refused Lufthansa's suggestions to adjust the price for a 41% stake in ITA Airways. Lufthansa is arguing that the government-owned Italian airline would lose value due to its poor performance in the fourth quarter of the year. Now, in response to growing demand, international airlines are boosting flight routes to China. Airlines like Delta, Kenya Airways, and Singapore Airlines are expanding routes into China, with Singapore Airlines planning 98 flights per week. The winter season schedule sees a 16% increase in freight flights and 11% in passenger routes. The Civil Aviation Administration of China says air traffic to China has now recovered to 80% of pre-pandemic levels. Still in China, Singles Day, the world's largest shopping event, faced pressure this year as consumer spending softened due to economic uncertainty. Sales on Singles Day, led by retail giants Alibaba and JD.com, fell short of record highs seen in previous years. Consumer spending was affected by slowing economic growth and high youth unemployment, pushing many Chinese consumers to cut back on non-essential purchases. With China's economy facing internal pressure, the success of future Singles Day events could depend on recovering consumer confidence. Meanwhile, thousands gathered in Cologne, Germany to kick off Carnival season with a festive countdown. The tradition starts every year on November 11 at 11:11 a.m. The Carnival in Cologne, marked by colorful costumes and chants of Koel Alaf, attracts thousands to the city's streets. This year's celebration arrives amid political upheaval as German parties continue negotiations for a snap election. Now, while Carnival is in full swing, Germany's politicians still face questions about the future government. But in Cologne, revelry comes first. On to the U.S. climate event. Envoy John Podesta assured that COP29 attendees that America remains committed to climate action despite Donald Trump's election win. President-elect Trump has pledged to withdraw from global climate accords and ramp up fossil fuel production, sparking concern among climate advocates. Meantime, security measures are intensifying in Lima, Peru, as the city gets ready to host the 2024 APEC Summit. With the arrival of world leaders like President Joe Biden and China's Xi Jinping, along with some other 7,000 delegates, authorities are taking no chances. Peru's government has ordered the closure of schools and universities and mandated remote work until Saturday. More than 15,000 police and military personnel are patrolling the capital, aiming to deter any potential anti-government protests during the meeting. That's as local worker unions and transport groups have called for a strike in response to crime and economic issues. Finally, toy manufacturer Mattel has said it deeply regrets a misprint on packaging for dolls inspired by the new Wicked movie, which listed the address for an adult website. The company recently released the singing dolls ahead of the long-awaited film starring Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, but eagle-eyed fans posted images on social media showing the packaging had a pornography website on it instead of the movie's web address. In a statement, Mattel apologized for the unfortunate error and advised parents that the misprinted website is not appropriate for children. With Wicked dolls now available, Mattel hopes to tap into fan enthusiasm while focusing on stronger content controls. Up next, we'll talk about how ESG investments can affect personal finance strategies among Filipino entrepreneurs. Stay on BNC and follow the money. As environmental, social, and governance priorities gain traction, Filipino small and medium enterprises are increasingly seeking ways to incorporate sustainability into their operations, as well as access green financing and foster sustainable growth. This comes at a time when some other companies are winding down their ESG reporting on worries that disclosures could give environmental or LGBT plus activists leverage to force companies to make unnecessary changes. Joining us today is ESGpedia Managing Director Benjamin So to discuss how ESG efforts might be made easier for SMEs. Ben, grateful you could join us and welcome to Follow the Money.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Now, Ben, could you start us off by explaining what ESG does, particularly in helping Filipino SMEs, and how your program allows for access to sustainable financing through the Spark program?
Yes, so our platform ESGpedia, it is a digital solution. So there are many components to it, which includes integrating with the DTI, Department of Trade and Industry's Spark template. So through our collaboration with GRI, ASEAN, and the Philippines DTI, we integrated this Spark template embedded with carbon calculator and digitalized solutions to allow Filipino SMEs to use the platform easily and be able to achieve their ESG report. So that means that they are also now able to receive sustainable financing easily, as they are able to publish credible ESG reports.
Mm-hmm. We'll pick up on the carbon calculator in a moment, but first, what are the most immediate and then lasting financial impact you believe ESG adoption could have on the resilience and long-term profitability of Filipino businesses?
Absolutely. Immediately in the short run, this ESG adoption could allow companies to be able to get access to sustainable finance and, of course, achieve regulatory readiness. After all, a lot of companies now demand suppliers to be able to provide ESG data to them. Over the long time, ESG adoption will create stakeholder trust, strengthen credit rating, and reduce cost of capital. And thus, this allows companies to retain a competitive edge as markets increasingly favor sustainability. As you say, follow the money. We think that the money is in sustainability, so therefore we should follow these trends of markets being more focused on sustainability in the long run.
Well, given that more than half of SMEs say that technology improves their ESG processes, how does this translate into financial benefits, like reducing reporting costs perhaps, or accessing new funding streams?
Absolutely. Right away, we are able to help reduce reporting costs. We mentioned about the challenges that some companies may face in adopting ESG. So with the use of technology, we can actually reduce the number of, man hours required to put in the work. We can automate some of these processes like data collection and be able to make, compliance automated. So this platform also allows SMEs to align with frameworks like the global frameworks like the ISSB and the GRI, which will also position them favorably when they are trying to access capital. So not only does it reduce costs of compliance. It will also actually allow them to have greater access to international streams of capital.
So meaning any upfront costs they might have with ESG compliance, does it get offset by the benefits that they receive from that compliance?
Absolutely. First of all, even the first initial upfront costs will be waived through this program because, partnering with the DTI to allow Filipino SMEs to use the Spark template, that is actually a free and user-friendly template that we have started off as a pilot for all companies today. And these templates are actually based on a standard developed by the DTI and the GRI. It includes carbon calculators that are also calculating carbon emissions based on the international standard. So therefore, we are allowing a phased approach where it starts with a low cost or no cost beginning step. It will also allow companies to scale up, as they are continuing to grow their business to be able to enjoy further value-added services that will be able to allow them to get even more financial returns as they need to.
Ben, in Western countries and Western companies, some have reported that they are concerned that the kind of data that they report with their ESG reporting is getting used against them. How do you address this kind of concern?
I actually think it's the opposite, because if you simply do not report, it's actually just running away from the problem. And actually, besides this term called greenwashing, whereby some companies are embellishing their green credentials, there is another negative term called green hushing. That is that, companies do not even talk about green at all. So that actually creates another backlash because if you do not even provide any forms of report, actually it's going to be increasingly difficult to do business in today's age where a lot of consumers, investors, or the larger corporates actually do require these reports. So I guess the best way to look at it is that across the world, not just in the Western world, but also in Asia, a lot of countries in Asia are now mandating the reporting of sustainability data, which means that it's going to be compulsory for all companies to now be able to submit sustainability reports, as part of their financial year reporting. So there's really no choice at all to, having this data being published.
There seems to be a lag time between the ESG reporting that Western companies, Western countries have been implementing, as well as in more advanced economies like Singapore, and the Filipino reporting. How can ESG reporting help Filipino SMEs bridge this $7.8 billion green financing gap that's been identified by the World Bank, you think?
Yes. So I think that, by allowing more Filipino SMEs to be able to reach the standards of reporting, just like in the international markets, we will be able to bring them up to par with the same level of compliance. So we are quite fortunate to be, partnering on this program, whereby the Spark template actually does align the SMEs with the international standards, which is where, international financiers are able to do a very comparative approach towards comparing this data and the ones that they need, for their investing.
Back to an earlier point that you made, with the Philippines aiming for a 75% emissions reduction by 2030, is there a role that your carbon calculator can play in financially preparing SMEs to meet these goals and avoid potential future penalties?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I read the statistic from the DTI website that more than 99% of the economy is made up of SMEs. So which means that, if the country requires reductions to be reduced, SMEs have a significant role to play. So what we are doing right now is that we are providing the use of a carbon calculator, which calculates carbon emissions effectively and accurately based on the ISO 14064 standard. So this is actually readily available as part of the Spark program, allows companies to easily calculate their carbon emissions and also allow for, all of them to be able to see how they can reduce their carbon emissions to be able to meet their goals in a short period of time.
Finally, how does ESG reporting among Filipino SMEs compare to other ASEAN countries? And are there financial opportunities or challenges that this might present?
Yes. So as a whole, sustainability reporting on a mandatory basis is now being implemented all across ASEAN. So every single country in ASEAN has already announced the implementation of such rules. However, I think companies in the Philippines can benefit from such a program. With this Spark program, for example, it does provide the access for tools whereby SMEs can therefore now get better solutions, and this will allow them to be able to distinguish themselves and also therefore be able to get verification of the data and get access to financing.
Well, hopefully Filipino SMEs do utilize this Spark program to their benefit. Benjamin So, founder and managing director at ESGpedia, thank you so much for sharing your insights on the financial impact of ESG reporting for Filipino SMEs.
Thank you.
Well, ESG reporting not only helps SMEs align with regulatory standards, but also opens up financial opportunities, driving long-term profitability and resilience in the Filipino market. And before we go, we'll leave you with this thought from Harley-Davidson Chairman and CEO Jochen Seitz. Sustainable finance is about seeing profit through the lens of purpose. And that was our earlier interview with Benjamin So of ESGpedia. Thank you so much. And that is it for today's edition of Follow the Money. I'm Raine Musñgi. Thank you so much for watching. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News channel, always on top.
Tesla has officially made its debut in the Philippines, signaling a new era in the country's EV market. The first Tesla flagship store is now open at Uptown Bonifacio Taguig, a premier development by Bilyonaryo Kevin Tan. Tan promised Tesla fans to expect more dealerships to open across the country.
For now, this is the flagship store, but we are already discussing other locations because obviously they will have to open up in cities as well in the Philippines. So we're looking at other properties and other townships as well.
Charging won't be a problem for future owners as Tesla superchargers are already being rolled out nationwide.
We will deploy all the charging stations all over our malls. Properties already. Each of our malls is already 20 plus, and then of course they're looking at our hotels as well, our townships. It's quite a lot. It's quite a number of charging areas, charging stations that we will be deploying.
This first Tesla supercharging station is capable of charging up to 120 kilometers in just 5 minutes. Located in the basement parking of Uptown Mall, the station charges at a rate of 19 pesos per kilowatt hour or roughly 1,140 pesos for a full charge. Tesla Southeast Asia Regional Director Isabel Fan highlights the positive environmental impact that Tesla owners have made, saving 20 million metric tons of carbon dioxide in 2023 alone.
This is a big deal. So the Tesla community usually feels really proud. They not only our owners, Tesla owners, our customers, they think they are forward thinking, they are sustainable, they are driving the sustainability, they are contributing to the environment, and feeling great. They love the brand.
Fan is also buzzing with excitement as they consider Tesla vehicles as more than just cars.
It's a mobile device with 4 wheels. Tesla vehicles are the most intelligent vehicles on the road today. All the hardware is ready for full self-driving in the future. It's about software, hardware integration together with the human interface.
Tesla has brought 2 of its most popular models to the Philippines, the Model Y, the world's best-selling vehicle in 2023, and the Model 3, the world's best-selling electric sedan. Both models come in 3 variants: rear-wheel drive, long-range, and performance. All models boast of impressive acceleration, going from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 3.1 seconds. Prices start at 2.369 million pesos for the Model Y and 2.109 million pesos for the Model 3. Interested customers can now pre-order, with deliveries expected next year. Tesla owners are also exempted from the number coding scheme as part of the government's initiative to promote EVs. For BNC Mobility, G. Baroga.